Reverend Payshence Carr is an internationally known Hoodoo spiritualist and psychic medium, paranormal consultant, investigator, spiritual life coach, advisor, natural health coach, and teacher of folk magic. Welcome, Payshence, to the world of curiosities.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you. So tonight we're talking about manifestation in magic. When someone asks you, can I manifest magic? What does that even mean? And what is your advice?
Once they realize that, and then they realize what is keeping them from manifesting and everything, because a lot of people, they think they, light some incense and light some candles and it's a simple, it comes, not realizing because we live, unfortunately, in such a quick gratification society as a world, they expect everything to happen like that. And then they start freaking out because it wasn't instantaneous, because they saw that on a Hollywood movie show or whatever, and not realizing, it takes some time for certain things. And that's why, you have to do while you're, doing your rituals for your manifestation. That's why a lot of traditions tell you to go meditate. So you're not worrying because, they think it's some outside thing that's keeping them blocked from their manifestations, not realizing it's not an external thing. It's all about this mindset, and it's usually because of a lack mindset, lack of love, lack of money, lack of health, whatever, type of lack mindset, that's keep them from manifesting what they want.
What's the best advice that you could give to a young one, someone who's new to magic?
To really start the journey of learning of self, working on the shadow work, doing the deep healing and everything, because like I said, many times it's our mindsets that are keeping us, and that's the whole reason why they're coming to the more spiritual side of things, because they're want, like I said, to be able to, to do things to manifest that life that they want, but not realizing, it takes work. There is no quick instant thing, because like I said, a lot of them, coming up and everything think that you just do one time thing and that's it, not realizing depending on what you're trying to manifest into your life, you have to do daily rituals, like with certain traditions, some of your manifestation rituals, you're doing it for 7 days, 9 days, 14 days, 21 days, all depending on, like I said, what you're trying to do. So, and the reason why, especially these younger ones, get so frustrated and give up is because they realize there's a lot more work, like I said, that's to be put into it. And it's not some quick fix. And that's the problem of too many, especially, new people coming to the whole idea of learning how to manifest the life that they want. They, want this instantaneous, gratification, and that's not how it works.
And, you have to do the work in the magical field, so to speak, but you also have to do the work in the corporeal world. If you're wanting that promotion, you have to be willing to put in the work here in the now in order to get it. Magic can open the door, but you're the one that has to actually step through that door. You have to put forth the effort. No, it does make sense. It has to be a combination, and you have to have intent. Talk about intent and how important that is to manifesting your own reality, because that's what we're trying to do when we manifest is manifest part of our own reality. Yeah, and along with self-doubt is fear. And manifestation, when we talk about manifestation, we often think, you and I don't, many people often think that only means good things in your life. Any type of magic is manifestation, and that includes darker magic, right? Because again, what are you doing? You're manifesting something in your life. You're wishing, in the case of a hex, to do harm to another. And so you're manifesting reality.
And verbally say it and everything. You got to watch what you're thinking, because it's been scientifically proven. What you constantly, repeatedly think to yourself, what you constantly say to yourself is what you bring into your life. So if you're constantly saying, I can't afford it, guess what you're telling the universe to keep you, where you can't afford things. Oh, I don't have, you're telling the universe you don't want money. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing where all men are rotten. Well, guess what? You're going to keep on magnetizing these rotten men to you because you think they're all rotten. You know, it's like I said, it's about that mindset and everything. And
and you're touching on something too. Words have power.
And they have proven, especially our English language and everything, the powers that be that invented many hundreds of years ago, who invented the modern day English language, deliberately invented it so the average person, keeps themselves trapped in low vibration because of certain words and everything. That's why I don't say morning the majority of the, to like my family, many reason why I say grand rising to people and stuff, because when you say good morning, it comes from the word morning, bringing of death. A lot of people don't realize that. That's also too another reason why I don't say you're welcome. Because when you say the word welcome, you are welcoming that person's energy and you don't know what's attached to that person. That's why when someone says thank you, I always say my pleasure.
Let me ask, give me an example, or our listeners an example of a spell that you cast, at which intent you knew 100% that it was this incredible intent in the moment that created a situation where that spell came to pass. And all spells are like that, but there are certain ones, that are just so powerful in their result that and you remember back to when you were casting and you put so much will, that force of will, that the results matched that intent, that force of will that you used to cast it.
I mean, he was a very abusive person that rode with the Warlocks, Motorcycle 1% Club. And so all I did was write on the jar the paper I put into it, and I'll tell you the ingredients, about returning all the harm and negativity that he had done to me and be sent to him with pinpoint accuracy and be amplified with the kiss of death. I put every time he put his hands on me, I thought of every time what he did to me and channeled it into that paper. And then I add my urine to have domination over it. And then I took me 3 ghost peppers that were all nice and rotten, growing the fuzz on it, looking like a science experiment. Threw that in there with some cayenne pepper and black pepper, sealed it up, and then took tin foil. And you know how foil has the shiny side? Use that like a mirror. So when you get a big enough piece, so when you bring it up to the corners and everything and bring it up around it, it covers, your jar. You make sure the shiny side is facing toward the jar so it uses it like a mirror to keep bouncing back off their negative energy back to them. And then you burn a black candle with their name on it and do a return to sender on it and everything, and saying the same thing on it, that you wrote on the paper. And then either put it in a dark place. I don't recommend too much about doing freezer spells because you don't want that energy around the food that you eat, if that makes sense, even though they're fabulous and they work great. I went and, took it and buried it in a lovely graveyard, and my grandmama took care of business, as they could say. And then right afterwards, I found out that he ended up contracting hepatitis C from a bad tattoo from a tattoo party that the Warlocks had. Then the Warlocks during this time, this was back in the late 90s when they were having a big old war with the outlaws in Central Florida, and him and his buddies decided to blow up the clubhouse. And of course, they're all under the influence. He got himself into a motorcycle accident afterwards and lost the left arm that he got the tattoo that gave him the hepatitis. So when they woke him up and everything, because he was under the influence, they gave him that medicine that woke him up. He freaked out because he looked over and saw his left arm on a bunch of ice. He ripped out the trach because they had incubated him, and his trachea got ripped. So, and we were in the middle of a nasty custody battle. And when I seen him in the courtroom, seeing how yellow he was, because he had got cirrhosis of the liver as well from the influence of whatever he was under, having the hepatitis C, seeing that he had no arm. When we had a break, I went over and whispered, I said, you know what? I'm going to surrender custody of my child to you, because by the end of this year, I will see you dead by October. This was in January of 2004, and by October 22nd, he was dead. He died on the operating table. They were trying to do surgery to fix his trait, and he had a heart attack and died.
What is your opinion of chanting as far as manifestation? Do you feel a need to chant, like some people will chant 3 to 6 to 9 times, or do you just say it once and that's it?
In a rhyme, manifest quicker and tap and everything. Like for instance, one of my favorite saints I pray to when I'm missing something and everything, because you know how like you get that anxiety going when you're misplaced and you can't find it because you're all over the place. Well, to help you focus so you can zoom in and find what the item or whatever you're looking for, I'll say, St. Anthony, come around, say the item needs to be found, come fast, come quick, ASAP, I will it so shall it be. And keep on repeating it and everything, depending on, sometimes you need to do it 3 times, sometimes you need to do several, way more than that, depending on the person and their anxiety level. But 1, it helps you focus. 2, it helps you calm down, put a little lavender on, and then not with even a minute or 2, after calming down, and when you're not, because you forget about it, you go about your business, boom, all of a sudden there it is. It's like, hello, I'm over here, and it's like, wait a second, I already looked over there. But the thing is, it could be because of that anxiety being all over the place. Something could be sitting right in front of your face, and you're not going to see it. So it helps you. So I highly, strongly, a lot of traditions, like I said, it's a great focusing tool. Because that's the main problem. The reason why, these totally blown these babies and everything. When you tell them you don't need the herbs and you don't need the candles, what do you mean, honey? You are the magic. It's your main. Like I said, the main ingredient is that intent, and you focusing and channeling that energy. The Asians, cultures say the chi into what it is that you want. You're trying, whether it be a positive reaction or a negative reaction, because they medically have proven our brains give off waves and everything. And it's been proven that positive brain waves are way more powerful and potent than the negative ones. And that's why, intent is the number 1 ingredient.
I will say also, chi is this whole idea of life force. So, again, narrowing that energy and pushing that life force, that energy, that frequency, however. And also, just to clarify for people that aren't in this path in any way and are just curious, when Payshence talks about babies, she's not talking about age in any way. She's talking about people who are new to the path. And so we call them baby witches sometimes, or just babies. So just to clarify,
it's my southern thing, honey.
It is. We love you for it. I'm just like you. Okay, so as far as your personal path, what is the one element or thing that you use, like crystals, herbs? I mean, what is the thing that you feel the most comfortable with? Because we're all different.
I strongly believe that us ladies, one thing is blessed about having breastises is that we can use our bra as a gree bag. As I love to say, the girls be toting. And always remember that the left side, it doesn't matter what hand you write with. The left side is for receiving. Your right side is for sending out. So I always, if you can't wear it as a bracelet, find little small ones that you can just shove right into the bra and stuff. Like on the left side, I always keep a rose quartz, purple amethyst, and a regular quartz and citrine. And that helps because of being such a sensitive empath and everything, going out to crowded places to keep the anxiety down and everything. And then that also too, citrine for us older ladies, not only is it good for bringing in the prosperity and everything, it helps alleviate hot flashes, aka power surge. And then on the right side for protection, I keep a piece of black obsidian, which I have is shaped like an arrowhead. And then I also do my hematite and my tiger's eye. Tiger's eye is giving you courage. It helps collect your energies to you. And then the hematite, in a lot of cultures, call it the warrior stone because it's a natural magnet. It keeps them grounded to you. So especially with the mixture, one of my favorite bracelets, I actually have to repeat it. It was amethyst, black onyx, tiger's eye, and hematite. I highly recommend those 4, especially if you have a major problem of having anxiety and panic attacks in public places. Either, like I said, wear it as jewelry, wear it in your bra, if you can, guys, put it in, in your pocket. And then also too, anointing with oils, like I said, doing the lavender on, if you're going somewhere, like say to the casino, throw yourself on some good luck oil of some kind or a money oil of some kind, protection. So
let me mention something about hematite too. Hematite has a very male essence. I mean, some stones do, and it was actually used by Roman soldiers when they went into battle because they felt that it gave them invincibility and bravery. And of course, they needed both to survive the battlefield. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up this session?
Just make sure that if you're doing using of crystals, make sure you make a monthly habit of cleansing them, recharging them, putting your intent, because that's the problem also too. You see babies, start getting into using of crystals. Well, I bought such and such like he told me to, but it's not I said, did you program it? They're like, what? It's like, yeah, you got to program it. You got to take it, either, using of their hands. Some traditions tell you to put it up to your third eye, and then you channel into your intent and speak to it what you want it to do. You have to tell it what you want from it. Otherwise, it's just going to be willy-nilly, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does, especially, but because most crystals have multiple applications. And so you pick up something and, say you are going into battle, say you're a warrior going into battle, you're a soldier, and you take hematite. Well, it may deliver this whole idea of invincibility or bravery, but it could also just keep you grounded and take away some of the anxiety. So knowing what the properties are of a crystal and then asking specifically what you need from that particular crystal is.
And also, I highly recommend, because certain crystals because of trend again, are so outsourced. There's a lot of fakes going on. If you can, do not order from online. Please find a reputable local crystal shop that you can go in and be around that specific type of crystal you're trying to shop for. And if you have permission from the owner first, that you can touch and feel and feel the vibration of that crystal and make sure it resonates with you and everything, because so much fake stuff is going around and everything. Even some of the crystals are plastic as anything.
What do you think about size of the crystal? Does it have to be big? Can it be small? I mean, what say you about size of crystal?
To me, it can matter, because the bigger the crystal, the more like the big quartz crystal caves down in South America. You go in there and everything, and they got quartz crystals bigger than my house. Okay. And you literally be cooked to death because of the energies and vibrations. That's why I say it's so crucial to go and experience that crystal before you purchase and everything, to make sure it's not vibrating too high of a level for you, that type of vibration will make you sick to your stomach, and it does the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing for you, because it's giving too much. Like, for instance, like if someone's starting out for the first time, like it's like purple amethyst on steroids. It's called Auralite 23. It's purple amethyst with like 23 different, elements in it. I would not give that to someone who is first time working with, because of the vibrations it gives. It will literally drive someone loco en la cabeza, as we say in Spanish, make them crazy, because they wouldn't be able to handle everything, because it literally pops that third eye open so much that they're like, what the heck's going on? Why am I seeing this? Why is this happening? I would tell them to start out with a traditional, regular purple amethyst. And as you get used to working with it and understanding, then move yourself up, because certain crystals have stronger vibrations than others. I mean, it's like jumping in the deep end and not knowing how to swim,
Now, what about you? What is the piece of advice that you would give to people who are practicing magic, no matter where they are on their particular journey, and especially in the realm of magic?
Definitely, especially if you feel like you have to, like they say, do something with your left hand and everything. You need to be justified.
And 99.9%, you are not justified. The majority of the time, especially young ones coming up in the, in the craft and everything, it's all because, they got a little butt hurt. Someone hurt their feelings and they think they need to throw at the person to teach them a lesson. No, you don't. Okay. Like I always preach on my own show where I always tell people all the time, you need to give it up. Either give it to God, give it to your ancestors, whoever that you work with, and let them take care of it. And also, two, keep out of your ego. You are just a vessel. Everything, like you said, you're drawing down that energy. It's working through you. It is not you who did anything. It was the powers that be that did what did. And when things do happen for you, whether it be a positive or negative thing that you wanted to manifest, you need to be grateful. Because if you become, like you said, stay humble like a child, especially if you're the ones who work with your ancestors, because they are your elders, even in spirit. And so if you don't stay humble, they will literally give you a spiritual spanking, because with one hand that they can give us, the other hand they can take it away to teach you a lesson, because you're working from the ego. Too many of them are stuck in that ego. You see them manifest, have a couple spells come true. Now they know everything and you can't tell them nothing. And then when something backfires, they come running. Oh, Mama P, why did this happen? Really? Really? Do we have to go there? After you already forewarned them what would happen if they did what they did, but they still did it anyways. Mm-hmm.
And I would, I find it interesting what people do as far as magic, and they think that it is secure for all your ills. It's not. For people who are true practitioners, it's just every day. It's every day. It's like you said, using pine sol to clean, or using lavender in a sachet and putting it next to your bed or under your pillow. It's all part of just living. And our old grannies, my old granny would keep the Bible with 23rd Psalms pointed towards the door for protection somewhere in the house. She'd have it pointed towards the door. Yes, I mean, they use the Bible, and I still do. And, it's just, and I know you do, people don't understand that when we say witch or hoodoo practitioner, all that means is you're born with proclivity because of usually your ancestors. It's a lineage. And if you look at gifts, there's usually a lineage. And so it's all part of that. It's not that we're nefarious, this whole reputation of selling your soul to the devil for gifts. No, you're born that way. Now, I'm not saying you can't become a practitioner of magic. You can. But for many people, they're simply born that way. They have that ability to have that intent, to have that focus, to have that chi, to bring that life force into a very narrow beam, like a laser, and cut through the mundane in order to create a reality that wasn't there before.
Amen. Like when I was a child growing up, because I was born what they call with the veil, with the cowl over the face and everything. And because of my gift of prophecy and prophetic dreams was so profound, they literally took me to the church and laid hands on me to back my gift. And it was only partially and everything. But this past September eclipse, I literally felt something pop. And it was just before Helene and Milton and all them came through. And all of a sudden the prophetic dreams started coming in like a bad horror film, even during the day, like daydreams and stuff. And I started talking with my mama about it, and she goes, yeah, I remember, baby. We took you to church because, I was always telling them about the hurricanes before the weatherman was and everything. And I was right in the middle of telling her, I said, Mama, I hate having this gift. And I was right in the middle of writing the sentence, it's a blessing and a curse. And she popped it to me. She goes, I know, baby. I know it is. I don't, I've been told I've had people jealous of. I said, you want this gift? If I could, I would give it away, because you, as a child growing up, you're told that you're crazy, never was told I was wrong. Always, oh, she's crazy because she knows things. I don't know how she knows them, but she knows them. Keep that child away from me. And this was from my elders in my church.
Sometimes the gift can be it's like you don't want the message, but you receive it. One time, my best friend and I we were just having coffee outside a bookstore, not Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, in Abingdon, near Abingdon, Virginia. And all of a sudden, I looked at her and I said, one of our children are going to die. And she said, and I said, Marty, do not ask me to look at this, to focus my energy and try to see a face. And 3 months later, she was walking past her son's room, and she looked over, and he had died sitting up. She didn't even know he had a problem. He was a young man, about 19, and he huffed, cleaning up like that spray that you use on the keyboards. They said that his lungs froze so fast that he died. It's so sad. Oh, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's not, they think everything's a party because, as far as psychic gifts, because of what you see on television, it is not a party. Try walking up to someone. I'll give you an example. Walk up to someone and say, do you know a woman named Kathy? I saw this old woman and I heard Kathy, and Kathy's dying. And I went over and I said, do you know Kathy? Yes. They took her away in an ambulance this morning. She had a massive stroke. And I looked at her and I said, you need to call her. She is passing. And she did. But my point is, can you imagine the tears when I gave her that message? And that's when I realized, unless somebody asks me, or unless I'm told by spirit to tell them, I don't.
Oh, I believe it. For instance, for myself, because I'm always trying to, be the norm, trying to hide the gifts. I was working as a medical biller and coder, and this happened that day. On Fridays, they do vasectomies at the urologist's office I was working at, and our front desk girl was sick, and we were all cross-trained, so I was covering for her playing secretary. And this Puerto Rican gentleman came in, and he was a detective for the Palm Beach County Sheriff Department. And we had a major case going on during this time where this famed plastic surgeon and his wife were going through a nasty divorce, and they ended up finding out that he killed her because there was no prenup. Because when they first got married, they didn't have nothing. And now he's in 50-something and having a midlife crisis, and the mistress, she wasn't putting up with it no more and everything. Well, they, before they had found out, the way they found out was because I broke the case without even trying to. Minding my business, checking the guy in and everything. Mind you, we come back from lunch and everything. When this gentleman comes to check in for his appointment, the TV turns on by itself. No one turned it on. And it happened to be the 12 o'clock news about the story that he's a detective on. He hears it. He turns around. And when he turns, I see that he's wearing a Puerto Rican tradition, African tradition that they practice is called Santeria, and they wear they let you know who they are crowned to. Well, when I turn, I can see under his collar his eleques. And then all of a sudden I hear my Puerto Rican grandma yelling at me in Spanish, tell him, look at the sugar canes. Go Clearwater. Look at the sugar canes. She's in about several different spots, just going off of me and everything. And I said, and I asked him in Spanish, I said, Senor Santero? And I went like this, pointing to the neck that he's wearing, and he goes, see? And then I told him, I said, Bruja, saying witch. I said, I got a message from my abuelita to tell you something. I said, with that case and everything, you need to go out to Clearwater where they have the sugarcane fields, and you're going to find her head, her arms, torso, and her legs in several different spots. And you'll see that the person who did the severing of her body and cut her up has medical knowledge. Mind you, I wasn't really paying attention to this case and everything, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, when he came back for his checkup, and he goes, thank you very much for the tip and everything. Because he invited me to come out and do, walk. And I said, no, I want to stay anonymous. This is a time where I'm still trying to play the normie, and everything, still, staying in the broom closet, because the area of Jupiter, Florida, which is north of West Palm in Palm Beach County, where I was still living at, is still very conservative, religious wise and everything. Either you're Christian or Jewish and nothing else, if you know what I mean. And so, I told him, I said, I want to stay anonymous, but he came back and he brought me a dozen roses and some chocolates to say thank you and everything, because the information helped break the case. And they found out, but one thing is that what made me realize after that, I was living like as like Jonah and the whale. How God called him and everything, and he felt he was unqualified. Like, please go over to Nineveh and preach to him. And you're like, no, I ain't giving the messages. I'm running. And then what do? that spiritual spanking, the whale swallows you up and it's like, okay, all right, I'm out. Okay, I'll do it, and that's when I, realized I needed to get out of my third marriage that was extremely abusive, do my healing. And I've been out and proud ever since, and no more. I'm not going to, so what? You don't like me? Shoot. My license plates on my vehicle, hubby got me personalized ones because we now have those black with the white lettering now here in Minnesota. Bruja and witch of every form has already been taken. So it's like, to pay homage to my German heritage, I have the word hexa. That's the word witch, which is Hexe. And I made the E's in the 3, so it's Hexa 33, recognizing being an ascended master.
I love that. All right, Miss Payshence, Reverend Payshence, thank you for being with us tonight. We so appreciate you. And thank you to our audience for tuning in tonight. Without you, it's a lonely place. And Payshence, would you like to tell folks where they can connect with you online or where they can just find you?
You can connect to me through my company's social media, which is Indigo Psychics, Coffee and Clarity, either on through Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. You can message me anytime through there, or you can also message me through my personal profile on my website, indigopsychics.com.
Indigopsychics.com, Indigo Psychics. And then also catch her podcast.
My show, Spiritual Tea Time with Reverend Payshence, is every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time on our Facebook page, Indigo Psychics, live.
All right. So there you go. So you'll be able to catch up with her. And she's a very powerful hoodoo lady, and I love her. She's Southern. She's got a little swamp in her, but I suspect she's got a little bit of hillbilly in her too, and that's a compliment coming from an Appalachian. All right. Tune in next time for Pat O'Keefe's World of Curiosities. Until then, stay curious.